introduction, Michael. That was very, very much appreciated. I am so glad to be here with you all. Imagine, if you will, a tower on a mountain, the journey of a hero, and the heart of a titan. You know, every culture has its own mythology. And for the ancient Greeks, the greatest place in their entire system of legends was Mount Olympus. It was forged after a great war, surrounded by clouds. But once you were through those clouds, it had amazing palaces and was full of endless joy and abundance. Mere mortals could only aspire to it. But the greatest of heroes could scale to the top. And I use that word scale very intentionally, because if you are on this call, you're looking to build your own Mount Olympus right here on planet Earth through your business. And it is truly the journey of a hero. Building a business, as all of you all know, is full of challenge, hurdles. There's monsters on the path and all sorts of obstacles that will keep you from getting to Mount Olympus. But at the end, as with the journey of every hero, for all of you, there will be glory. So you might be asking yourselves, how do I get my business from where it is today all the way up to Mount Olympus? Well, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to give you 5 tips for getting there based on those ancient Greek myths and the hero's journey. Imagine, if you will, that you are a small business owner. Let's say, for the sake of the discussion tonight, that you own a spice company. You're making these spices with a small little group of people, probably just yourself actually, in a kitchen. How on earth do you get your business from your kitchen to the top of a mountain? Well, the very first thing you need to do is what every hero started with, an understanding of where it is that you're going and what it will look like when you get there. Every one of you, if you haven't done it already, should take some time to think about and to write down questions about what exactly you want your business to look like 1, 3, 5 years in the future. And the sorts of things you need to ask yourself are as follows. Number 1, how much gross revenue would you aspire to? What would you want your profit margins to look like? How many people would you like to have working for you one day? How many locations would you want to have? What would you like your social impact to be? And why exactly are you starting a business? Is it because you want a steady salary that the revenue from that business will provide? Or are you looking to build an asset to fund your retirement? The answer to those questions, and those last 2 in particular, are of profound importance to you right from the beginning. You also should probably ask yourself, what is your marketplace? Who is it that you're selling to? And what sort of market share do you ultimately want to have? Once you've written down the answers to those questions, once you've documented them and committed to them in your heart, you have a vision for your company. And every single hero has a vision. Now, I'll talk about the second thing. No hero ever made it to Mount Olympus on his or her own. In fact, if you read those stories, there were usually people that were helping them, teams. Let's face it, in that famous tale, The Odyssey, Odysseus himself wasn't rowing the boat. Not only did they have people help them, but usually gods and goddesses would come to the heroes and offer them divine gifts. And those gifts were the tools that they needed to help ensure that they were able to overcome obstacles or forge their way through whatever difficulties they might face. Every single one of you, from the very first day that you begin networking, should not be networking purely to gain customers and potential sources of revenue, but to find the strategic partners that you will need to surround yourself as fast as possible with, that are the equivalent of the gods and goddesses to give you the gifts that you need to succeed as an entrepreneur. Who are these gods and goddesses that you need to surround yourself with? Well, fortunately, I'm here to tell you tonight, beginning right now, everyone should be networking with antenna out and eyes open for the following gods and goddesses. Number one, the god of finance. You need to make sure that your business and you yourself have someone around you who can interpret balance sheets, cash flow statements, profit and loss statements, as well as interpret and provide to you the basic financial ratios that you need in order to understand the fundamental financial health of your company, as well as to be able to provide and talk to investors and bankers about the money that you will need in order for them to give you the capital to enable your business to grow. You don't need to be the person that's actually doing the accounting or the bookkeeping, but you need to make sure that the gods of finance can whisper in your ear so that you understand what the bookkeeping and the financial statements mean when you get them, no matter how hard you are, or how difficult those things are for you to understand. Those folks need to be around you to walk you through it. The next deities that you need to follow or have in your circle are the twin goddesses of sales and marketing. People often get sales and marketing confused. So I'm going to explain right now exactly how they should be differentiated, but how they are related. Marketing is the ability to create awareness of your brand, your business, your product, and your services. You think of it as the top of a gigantic funnel. Sales represent the bottom of the funnel, and the conversion of that marketing and branding awareness into actual revenue for your company. They both involve related but distinct skill sets that everyone should be aware of is different than running a business or providing the product or service that you do. And you are well advised to surround yourself early on with people who are experts in both sales and marketing. The third deity is probably the first one that you will have around you, and that is the god or goddess of administration and operations. That person will probably look like an assistant that you're working with, someone who's helping to organize your desk or to keep your calendar in place or to field phone calls and emails. But over time, you need to make sure that you have surrounded yourself with someone who understands systems, who understands outcomes and tracking, and who also is able to understand quality assurance so that the product or service that your business provides can meet the promises that your marketing and your salespeople have already made to the customers. Whoever that person is, treat them like a god, because for the sake of your business, for all intents and purposes, they are. The next god or goddess that you need to have around you is the god of law. especially if you have a business partner or plan on entering into any contracts whatsoever. In business, having been in it for a long time, things always go well until the day they do not. And they do not go well on days that you do not choose. And so if you do not have a decent legal partner around you from your earliest days, like I said, in particular, if you have a business partner, your journey to Mount Olympus will crash onto some very rocky shores early. The final deity that you need to make sure you've surrounded yourself with is the goddess of human resources, especially once you move from your first employee to your second employee. Providing a product or a service, selling it, running a business are all unique skill sets. But handling the people is something that goes far beyond what any of us know in our day-to-day interactions. How to hire someone, how to fire someone, how to demote someone, how to promote someone, how to create an internal culture that is positive and motivating even when you don't have the money to pay people fairly. Not to mention all of the laws, rules, and regulations that need to be interpreted around things like wage and hour and taxes are a whole bundle of skills that HR people and HR people alone can provide. And so it's important that when you're networking from day one, you are looking out for human resources people to surround yourself with later once you have that staff. With those people in your back pocket, your journey up to the heavens will be a lot safer, more secure, and less troublesome. Now, you may have the goal of getting to Mount Olympus from your kitchen where you're making spices. But how exactly do you get there? What is the map that you use in order to go from Earth to the skies? In ancient times, people would consult with oracles, or they'd go find witches in a cave. And usually it was 3 witches that shared one eye that they passed around. And that person would give them instructions how to get to their heroic destination. Now, these days, we do not go see witches in caves. Or if you do see witches in caves, you need to get up to modern times, because us modern business people don't do that anymore. And yes, I am joking. Instead, what we do is we use analytical tools that help provide the roadmap that we need to get where our vision ultimately will take us. And the analytical features that we examine are the following 4 things. Number 1, our internal strengths, the things inside ourselves or our company that are unique to us and that prepare us to succeed. So if you're a spice maker with a business in your kitchen, it's likely that one of your internal strengths are your recipes and your ability to cook. You also, as importantly, will need to examine your internal weaknesses. Those are the things inside yourself or your business that you're afraid of. In the case of the spice maker, it very well could be a fear of numbers or a lack of understanding of financial documents. You need to make sure you identify those things honestly and document them. Next, you need to look at the outside environment. What are the external opportunities that are there for you? In the case of the spice maker, an external opportunity could be a preference for locally made food due to supply chain issues caused by the global pandemic that we're unfortunately all in the middle of still. On the other hand, you need to be honest about the external threats to your business. So, a huge external threat to the spice maker could be that people don't have as much money because of employment fluctuations due to the pandemic. If that's true, then that needs to be accounted for. By the way, the last two things, the understanding of external opportunities and external threats, together are usually called environmental scanning. And one thing that every single person needs to get in the habit of doing from the beginning as business people is environmental scanning, making sure that you are focused on the entire political, economic, and business, as well as cultural environments in which you operate. It's good for you to do that because A, if you don't, the whole world, these outside events can come crashing down on you whether you like it or not. But in addition, most of your competitors are really only going to be focused on their own relationships with their customers or their suppliers, not what's going on in the larger world around them. So simply by constantly environmentally scanning, looking at the larger political, economic, and cultural world around you, you are going to have a significant competitive edge. In any event, once you document your internal strengths and internal weaknesses, external opportunities and external threats, you are going to be able to merge them all together and put together your mission statement. Now, I'm sure everyone here knows what a mission statement is. I'm sure you all also know that it needs to be short these days. Modern ones are only usually 3 to 5 words long. That mission statement is a statement of the way that you do business, the values of your company. It is the actual map for you to move from the kitchen where you're making spices to the ultimate goals and objectives that you have for your business. So those are the first 3 things from Greek mythology that I'd like to share with you that you need to know. The fourth also stems from an analysis of the internal strengths and weaknesses and external opportunities and threats. And that is the development of a strategic plan. Usually, a strategic plan is a document that covers about 3 to 5 years. And it has in it a variety of sub-plans. Each sub-plan should explain exactly how you're going to address the internal strengths, internal weaknesses, external opportunities, external threats, to either be able to either leverage your strengths and exploit the opportunities, or protect against the external threats and defend against the internal weaknesses, or at least try and turn them around. If you think about your mission statement as the road to get from your kitchen to your ultimate business goals, the strategic plan is comprised of the actual bricks on that road. Now, I said strategic plans are usually 3 to 5 years long, but let's face it, the environment that we're in now is very unusual and extraordinarily unstable. I strongly recommend that if each of you are not examining your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats right now, that you do. But when you put together a plan to address them, I recommend, frankly, keeping the plan to 1 year at length at a time, simply because the environment is changing so fast, it's impossible to predict where you're going to be for a longer amount of time. The fifth and final tip I have for every entrepreneur based on Greek mythology is the most important one of all. It involves developing the one skill that every single hero had, and that every last successful entrepreneur has also developed. And that is the mindset of a hero. And I'm going to tell you a story that will explain exactly what that mindset looks like. I have a friend here in New York that grew up in coal country in backwoods America. His father had 5 sons. 4 of them grew up and stayed all of their adult lives in that rural part of America. But the 5th one was my friend who came here to New York City where I live and where I met him. A few years ago, my friend's father turned 80. And as his 80th birthday approached, he realized that he wasn't feeling very well. And as the year went on and on, he began to realize that he was never going to feel good again. Eventually, the holidays approached, and my friend's father reached out to each of his 5 sons and asked them to come and see him so that he could say goodbye before he died. He wanted to see them during the holidays and have one last Christmas and New Year's with them. The 4 that lived in the area were able to do that. And they had a wonderful holiday with their father. But the 5th, my friend, who lived here in New York City, had a job that did not allow him to take time off. So he called up his father and said, "Dad, I would love to see you this holiday, but I'm just not going to be able to make it. I'll come home in January as soon as my company allows me to take time off." And true to his word, when January came, my friend took the train back to rural America to see his father. They spent a wonderful day together. In the morning, my friend cut his father's toenails. Then they went to get his father's hair cut. And the 80-year-old father flirted with the 20-year-old woman that was snipping his hair. They giggled away and had a good time. Then after the haircut was done, they went to a diner and they had a wonderful lunch. Then the 2 of them went to my friend's father's house. And when they crossed the threshold of the door and entered my friend's father's house, my friend's father turned and grabbed his son's arms. And in that moment, he collapsed into the arms of his son. My friend's father never woke up. That 80-year-old man had the mindset of a hero because he had a mission in his life. And that was to see every one of his 5 sons before he died. And that mission literally gave him the power over life and death. If an 80-year-old man that was so sick that he was dying had a mind that could exert that sort of power, imagine what's in each of you. When other people come to meetings or see you all on the street, they may just see an ordinary man or a woman. But knowing what you all are doing, building your businesses, I know the truth. I see people with the hearts of a titan. A tower on a mountain. The journey of a hero. the hearts of a titan. The myths are true. The future is yours. Elsie?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. This was really